As you take a deep breath, let your body relax into the space you occupy. Feel the weight of the day gently lift as you begin to sink into a peaceful, calm rhythm. With each breath, feel the quiet pull of time, gently slowing the world around. You imagine now the beginning of a great empire world where the power of rulers seems unshakable, and the future is filled with endless possibilities. Picture a time long ago, in an ancient kingdom bathed in the golden glow of early morning. The majestic palace towers high, its walls glistening under the first rays of sunlight. Around you, the city hums with the energy of people going about their daily lives, their voices low and steady as the day unfolds. There is a sense of peace. Here, a feeling of security that comes from knowing that this empire, vast and proud, stands strong. Feel the power of this empire. The kingdom is built on strength, wealth, and a legacy of leaders who are revered by their people. You can hear the soft murmur of courtiers in the grand halls, the quiet steps of guards patrolling the palace grounds. The empire is alive with possibilities, its future bright with the promise of wealth and stability. The king, or perhaps the queen, stands at the heart of this empire, a beacon of power and hope. Their word is law. Their decisions shape the lives of all who live within their borders. But even in this moment of peace, there is something faintly unsettling beneath the surface, like a whispering wind that you can't quite hear but still feel. As you stand in this world of glory, take a deep breath and feel the cracks beneath your feet. The cracks are not obvious at first, no loud rumblings or crumbling walls, but they are there, quietly waiting. The weight of power, when unchecked, begins to shift imperceptibly, and even the greatest empires can falter from within. Now, imagine the ruler of this great empire, poised in the midst of it all, basking in the glow of their power. They stand in their grand throne room, surrounded by advisors and soldiers, and to the outside world, they seem unshakable. But inside, in their heart, the seeds of doubt and arrogance are beginning to take root. The ruler is aware of the whispers of discontent, of dissatisfaction brewing among the people. But these whispers are easily ignored, lost in the clamor of royal duties and the comfort of absolute power. Feel how the ruler's decisions begin to reflect the weight of their unchecked power. With each passing day, the cracks in their rule grow just a little wider. They become more distant, more removed from the realities of their empire. The people, the ones they promise to serve, begin to feel the strain of mismanagement and greed. Taxes increase, resources are hoarded, and the once vibrant kingdom begins to show signs of wear. Yet the ruler continues, blind to the cracks that are slowly but surely threatening to unravel their empire. As you breathe deeply and relax further, imagine the world around you shifting. The once glorious empire begins to fade in your mind's eye, the cracks growing wider, the people becoming restless. And in the quiet moments, when all is still, the ruler may finally realize, too late, that their empire is not as invincible as it once seemed. The foundation, built on power and pride, is crumbling beneath them, and with it, their legacy. In this moment, feel the tension of the ruler's unspoken awareness. The peace that once enveloped them is beginning to fray, and though they may continue to wear the crown, their grip on the empire is loosening. The cracks are no longer hidden, they are growing, becoming undeniable. The empire, once so strong, now teeters on the edge of collapse. As you settle deeper into the calm rhythm of your breath, allow the pace of your thoughts to slow, like a gentle wave washing against the shore. With every inhale, you feel yourself sinking further into the peacefulness that surrounds you. The weight of the world above, with its noise and demands, fades into the background. Now, let yourself drift into the story, into the quiet space where decisions are made, and rulers' actions ripple through time. Imagine now a time when the empire, once shining and full of promise, is on the cusp of change. The ruler in this story, once admired and trusted by the people, now faces the consequences of their decisions. Their actions, once seen as noble, have begun to erode the foundation of their rule. Feel the tension in the air as the ruler stands on the precipice of a great transformation, their heart heavy with the weight of choices made long ago. As you breathe, notice how the ruler's arrogance begins to grow. Power, once held with grace, now rests too firmly in their grasp, and they are no longer in tune with the needs of their people. The ruler, in their desire to control everything, turns away from the advice of those they once trusted. The whispers of discontent grow louder, but the ruler, instead of listening, grows more isolated. They see the kingdom as their own to command, and with each passing day, their grip tightens. The kingdom begins to change. The streets, once vibrant with the laughter of children and the busy hum of daily life, now seem quieter, more subdued. The people, once hopeful, are beginning to feel the strain of the ruler's decisions, feel the growing unease in the atmosphere, as if the air itself has thickened with the weight of their unwise actions. The ruler's decisions on taxes, on justice, on governance become more striving, blind to the struggles of the people they are meant to serve. With every step the ruler takes, the cracks in their rule widen, but they do not see it. The throne, once a symbol of stability and strength, now feels heavy with the burden of mistakes. The ruler's arrogance blinds them to the world outside their palace walls. They become consumed by their own power, believing that their rule is invincible, that nothing can break the empire they've built. But as the people suffer under their rule, their loyalty fades, like the last light of the day sinking beneath the horizon. Picture now the tension building in the kingdom, the growing distance between the ruler and the people. The ones nobles begin to question their king's decisions. The common folk, burdened by heavy taxes and unjust laws, start to speak in hushed tones, their once quiet discontent turning into quiet rebellion. But the ruler is unaware, or perhaps simply too proud to notice. The empire that once seemed so strong now trembles under the weight of its own corruption. The ruler's decisions become more erratic, their judgment clouded by pride and greed. They are no longer the wise monarch they once were. Instead, they are a shadow of their former self, a king who has lost touch with the very people who put them on the throne. In this moment, the ruler stands alone, surrounded by power, but disconnected from the people they vowed to protect. Breathe deeply and let the sense of isolation settle over you. The ruler, despite the grandeur of their throne, is alone, surrounded by walls of their own making. They may not yet realize it, but they are losing control. The empire, once a beacon of strength, now falters beneath the weight of the ruler's mistakes. The cracks in their kingdom are no longer hidden. They are becoming impossible to ignore. As you continue to breathe deeply, allowing your body to relax with each inhale and exhale, imagine the passage of time. With every breath, you are drawn deeper into the unfolding story. The calm waters of your mind reflect the stillness of the world. But beneath this quiet surface, the currents of change are stirring, moving the story forward. Now feel the tension in the kingdom as it reaches its breaking point. The ruler, still sitting upon their throne, is unaware of the storm brewing outside the palace walls. The whispers of discontent have become louder now, filling the streets and courts, echoing through the very heart of the empire. The people, once loyal and trusting, now feel the weight of their suffering too deeply to ignore. They have seen their hopes dashed, their voices unheard, and their needs overlooked. The time for silence is over, and the time for change has arrived. Picture the nobles and the common folk alike, all standing together in quiet defiance. Their resentment has turned into action, and the ruler, still lost in their pride and self-delusion, cannot see it coming. Feel the building energy in the air as the people begin to rise, not with violence, but with purpose to reclaim what was once taken from them. They are no longer passive. They are standing up for justice, for fairness, for the future of their kingdom. In this quiet revolution, the people have found their voice. They no longer whisper their discontent in the shadows. Instead, they speak it out loud, demanding change. Feel the weight of their collective will. It is powerful, and it is unstoppable. They come together, united by the belief that they deserve more than what has been given to them by their ruler. They no longer fear the throne. They are the ones who are demanding justice. As the voices of rebellion grow louder, the ruler begins to sense something is wrong. The whispers have turned into shouts. The protests have turned into action. But by the time the ruler recognizes the depth of the unrest, it is too late. The cracks in their empire have become too large to mend. The throne, once a symbol of absolute power, now feels fragile beneath them. The people, once subjects, are now the force that will determine the future of the empire. The rebellion is not one of chaos, but of quiet resolve. The people have grown tired of living in fear and oppression, and they are no longer willing to accept a ruler who is blind to their suffering. Their rebellion is not just a demand for change. It is a reclamation of their dignity, their rights, and their voices. The ruler's arrogance and greed have pushed the kingdom to its breaking point, and now the consequences of their actions are clear. As the ruler sits in their throne room, trying desperately to hold on to their power, they realize that their grip is slipping. The walls of their palace, once a symbol of their strength, now feel like a prison. The people who once looked to them for leadership now look to one another, unified in their desire for change. The ruler has lost their connection to the people, and in doing so, they have lost their empire. Feel the moment of realization, slow and inevitable. The ruler, who once held absolute control, now faces the consequences of their inaction and pride. They cannot ignore the cries of the people any longer. The empire they once ruled is slipping through their fingers, and they are powerless to stop it. Their downfall, though quiet, is as certain as the setting sun. The reign of this king, built on arrogance and greed, is coming to an end. As you continue to breathe deeply, feel the tension in the air, as though the world is holding its breath. The stillness of the deep sea surrounds you, yet beneath this surface, you can sense the ripples of change, undeniable, unstoppable. The ruler, once so certain of their power, now faces the quiet collapse of everything they once held dear. The people, once subjects, are now the force that will decide the future of this crumbling empire. Imagine the once grand halls of the palace, now echoing with an uncomfortable silence. The ruler, sitting in their opulent throne, feels the weight of their decisions closing in. The splendor that once surrounded them now feels empty, hollow, as though the very walls are closing in on them. The throne, once a symbol of unquestioned power, now feels like a seat of isolation. The ruler is no longer surrounded by loyal subjects, but by the growing murmurs of those who have turned away. Feel the ruler's growing sense of panic, not because they fear for their life, but because they fear losing everything they've worked for. Their grip on the empire, once firm and unwavering, now slips away like sand through their fingers. They have no answers to the demands of the people, no way to restore the trust that they've squandered over time. Every decision they made, every law they enforced, every tax they raised, each one is now a weight upon them, dragging them deeper into isolation. The ruler's mind races, thinking of ways to regain control, but deep down, they know that the time for that has passed. Their failure is not just one of leadership, is a failure to see the people as more than just subjects. They have neglected their responsibilities, blinded by pride, unable to understand that their people were not their property, but their partners in the life of the empire. Now, the empire is beginning to fracture, and the ruler has no one to turn to for help. As the rebellion spreads, you can feel the shift in the air. It is no longer the calm before the storm, but the storm itself, crashing against the gates of the palace. The once impregnable walls of the empire are being tested, and the ruler, in their arrogance, now sees the true cost of their actions. The people are no longer afraid, no longer willing to accept a ruler who treats them with such disregard. They march together, their voices uniting in a single cry for justice, for a return to what was promised to them, the fairness, the protection, the respect they were denied. Feel the weight of history now, as the ruler's downfall becomes inevitable. The people have come to reclaim their future, and the ruler's reign, once full of promise, is now nothing more than a memory. The ruler tries to hold on to the remnants of their power, but it is slipping away faster than they can grasp. The world outside their palace walls is no longer theirs to command. It is being shaped by the will of the people who stand together, united and resolute. The collapse of the ruler's empire is not one of violence, but of quiet resignation. The people do not need to storm the gates with force. Their will, their unity is enough to break the ruler's hold on the throne. The once mighty ruler now faces the consequences of their arrogance, They stand alone in a palace that once symbolized power, but now only echoes with the sound of their own failure. In this moment of reflection, you feel the finality of the ruler's downfall. It is not marked by battle, but by the quiet truth that their reign was never truly theirs to begin with. The ruler is left with nothing but the ruins of their kingdom, and the knowledge that it was their own actions that led to its collapse. The empire they once commanded is now in the hands of those who will rebuild it, who will restore the balance that the ruler disrupted. As you continue to breathe deeply, let the sense of quiet reflection settle in. The world outside may seem chaotic and uncertain, but in this moment, you are here, calm and still, resting in the quiet aftermath of change. Imagine yourself drifting away from the crumbling empire, feeling the weight of its collapse gently lifting, leaving behind a soft sense of closure. The world around you is no longer filled with the noise of conflict, but with the quiet rhythm of nature, the stillness of peace after the storm down. As you float in this peaceful moment, reflect on what remains after the fall of such a powerful empire. What legacy does a tyrant leave behind when their rule has crumbled? The emperor, once revered and feared, now exists only in the whispers of history. The grandeur of their palace, the echo of their name, fades into the background of a new world. What will be remembered? The cruelty, the arrogance, or perhaps the lessons learned in the wake of their downfall? Feel the quiet weight of history on your shoulders, knowing that every empire, no matter how grand, will eventually face its reckoning. The ruler's reign, built on pride and power, has left behind a world in need of healing. It is a world where the people, once oppressed, now have the opportunity to rebuild. They will no longer be ruled by fear or tyranny. Instead, they will rise from the ashes of their suffering, learning from the mistakes of their past, determined to create something better as the people begin to rebuild. Imagine the care and patience with which they restore the broken pieces of their world. The damage done by the ruler's actions cannot be undone, but in the quiet work of healing, the people find strength. They come together, united by the belief that they deserve more a society where fairness and justice reign, where the voice of the people is heard and respected. It is a slow, steady process, like the turning of the tide. But with each step forward, the kingdom begins to heal. Breathe deeply and imagine this new world taking shape. See the people working together, restoring what was once lost. The scars of the past remain, but they are now a reminder of the strength that comes from overcoming adversity. The people no longer live in fear. They live in the light of possibility. They are creating a new legacy, one built on cooperation, respect, and understanding. The ruler's empire may have fallen, but from its ashes a new world rises, stronger and more resilient than before. As the ruler's story fades into history, you can't help but feel a sense of quiet hope for the future. The mistakes of the past have been learned from, and though the road ahead is still long, there is a sense of purpose in the air. The empire, once lost, now finds its way again. The legacy of tyranny may linger, but it is the legacy of the people, the builders of the new world, that will endure. Take one last deep breath. feeling the peace of the world around you. The legacy of the ruler's reign is now behind you, and the future lies ahead, filled with the quiet potential of renewal. You are part of this new world, part of the hope that rises from the ashes, part of the unbroken rhythm of life that continues, steady and unyielding. The storm has passed, the empire has fallen, and now a new chapter begins.